we ought to have some funny stories.
We probably do.
I have a lot of fun stories, but I'm just not sure I can say it on camera.
Not to a genteel audience.
There are a couple of funny moments that are stand out in my mind. We had an attorney here, bless his heart, Arthur Berger, number 12, who loved to go looking for food, and he would sort of wander the halls and find something to eat along about 11:30 or so in the morning. And we had a plate of donuts. Mr. Berger came into the suite, he took a donut, he took several bites, he stopped, he chatted, and then he decided he was finished, so he put the donut back on the plate. We then took the donut, wrapped it up in a towel, and put it in the inner office mail and sent it to him, and a little note that said, you forgot this when you left, and we want you to be sure and have it so you can enjoy it with your afternoon coffee break.
I've been here for about 10 years at McNees, and I started here around the same time as a guy named John Penrod, which is important because I think my earliest memory here was probably a case of mistaken identity. When I first started here at McNees, I was kind of put into the business group on an unassigned basis, which meant I had to take work from anybody in the business group that had work to give. So I was here maybe about a week, sitting in my office, typing on my computer, a memo, something like that. And one of the partners here at the firm just pops into my office and he just starts talking. And I won't say who it is because he still works here and I get along well with this guy. And he probably doesn't remember this at all, but he just starts talking. And it takes me about 15 seconds to realize that I think he's given me work to do. But everything he's saying, he's talking really quickly, talking about something he just looked at, talking about something I have to look at. So I start writing things down, but it becomes really clear to me that he's assuming some level of knowledge that I don't have. And so he goes on pacing back and forth, ferociously talking about this topic for, like I said, about 5 minutes. And finally he kind of stops, and for the first time he looks at me and he says, so that's where we are. And so I'm kind of looking at my notes, trying to figure out what all this means. And he kind of looks at me again and he says, when did you change your shirt? And I'm saying, I look at him and I said, well, I didn't. I've been here all day. I haven't changed my shirt. And he kind of scratches his head and looks at me again and he says, you're not John Penrod, are you? I said, no, I'm not. No, I'm not. And so fortunately, I didn't have to do that assignment because I had no idea what the guy was talking about.
I would go back to probably my second day at the firm when Gilbert Nurick showed up at my front door. And he said, welcome to the firm. And one thing you don't want to be is a veto lawyer. And I said, well, what's a veto lawyer? And he said, well, that's the type of lawyer that says no too quickly instead of speaking with the client and finding a solution. And I've tried to take that throughout the firm in a way that we are here to provide solutions for clients, not to say they can't do something, figure out a way how they can.
I've been part of McNees Wallace Nurick for almost 20 years, and the thing I most enjoy is that wherever you go throughout Pennsylvania, or even some of the very many states in which we practice, is that many, many people have heard of McNees Wallace Nurick and have good thoughts and many good stories about the people who work here. My favorite happened to me about a year ago in September 2009. I was assisting one of our pro bono clients who had gotten himself in a jam over some parking tickets, of all things. Actually had gotten himself into Dauphin County prison, where he had been for about 3 weeks before we discovered his whereabouts. In any case, I rushed to North Cameron Street to the offices of District Judge Robert Jennings III, where I asked to speak with the judge. We were told that the judge, by his staff, was in a foul mood, and we should proceed with caution, which we did, at least initially. The judge, we discovered, was indeed in a foul mood and immediately refused my request to sign our petition for release of prisoner. The judge seemed unpersuaded by my arguments that 3 weeks was sufficient for anybody for a few parking tickets. In any case, we got into it, and things were not going so pleasantly for either me or our pro bono friend. Finally, the judge, who is a formidable person, he's a big guy, he stood up and said, I don't know who you are coming into my courtroom with your fancy suit and your silk tie, so why should I listen to anything from you. And I reached into my pocket and pulled out my business card and told the judge, this is who I am. The judge took a moment, looked at the card and said, McNees Wallace Nurick. I used to work there. Judge Robert Jennings III, or as he was known back then, Bobby Jennings, worked in the McNees mailroom in the late 60s. We talked about the very many people that we knew: Ed First, Henry McNicholas, Bill Chestnut, Ed Rothman, Frank Haas. The judge recalled with a great deal of fondness that Mr. Gilbert Nurick offered to pay both college and law school tuition for him, but he declined, and the judge told me that that is a decision that he regrets to this very day. And we talked some more before Judge Robert Jennings III signed my release of prisoner petition, and I was off to Dauphin County Jail to get our guy out. And I think that this story shows that while our firm name resonates across Pennsylvania and several other states, the good work that we do follows us sometimes even after 40 years.
When I got here in 1987, the chair of the litigation group was a man named David Lehman, who just retired, perhaps the wisest lawyer I ever met. And one of the associates, who's no longer here, she became a partner and now is Dickinson College's in-house counsel. It's a woman named Dana Scadudo. She was in about her 3rd year. And it was time to find out whether you passed the bar. We were asked about, when we got this invitation, one of the things that was suggested was, maybe you have a story about passing the bar. So back in those days, it wasn't all on a computer. In fact, we didn't have computers at our desk. So the way you found out was it was published in a law journal, and they published a list of the names of the people who had passed. And so you're obviously on tenterhooks about this because it's a big deal. And I don't know about everybody else, but when you take the bar exam, you come out of it thinking, oh, that didn't go very well. So Dana, it's about October. It's about the time the bar results are coming out, and you're kind of waiting. And Dana calls me into her office and says, close the door and sit down. And there's a friend of mine, and she hands me the results, the list. And the way you find out you failed is you're not on the list, and I'm not on the list. And so my heart kind of sank, and I looked to a friend of mine who is now a partner here as well, named Chip Brooks. And we studied for the bar together. And his name wasn't on the list. So then I said things I can't really repeat on the camera about how things had gone. And then I looked up at the top of the newspaper and realized that she had handed me the newspaper from the previous list. Just a little joke. I've never gotten my revenge on her. Maybe this is an opportunity, I don't know, but anyway, that's the story. And when I opened the door, my department chair was standing there, and he said that he could have been in the room, but he couldn't have kept a straight face. But Dana was such a fabulous liar, and she could look right in your eyes and unblinkingly tell you the lie. And she just nailed me. So that's my story of almost failing the bar.
I never know what to expect when I'm going to come in the morning, so every day is different, and that makes it exciting. And I typically describe my job to someone that I am meeting for the first time as that I herd cats. And they kind of get this quizzical look on their face, and I explain that I work at a law firm where there are 130 attorneys, and the light goes on immediately, so the quizzical look kind of disappears, and they kind of get it, that if you've ever tried to herd a single cat, but now it's trying to get 130 attorneys all to do the same thing, it's nearly impossible.
One of mine was panicking for my first Goody day.
Oh, Goody days.
We have Goody days here.
Great, yeah.
I remember when I first started. I remember first walking off the elevator and thinking, oh my gosh. It's because it does take your breath away. Our 7th floor reception area with the spiral staircases.
So beautiful. Yeah.
And I'm thinking, whoa, this is like big time. This big time stuff, you know? And then, then started working for Mr. Disney. We both worked for Mr. Disney at some point.
at some point.
And then having to do my first Goody day, I was a mess. I know it sounds so silly.
Every Friday somebody signs up to bring in some sort of a goodie. Some days, like if it's myself, I'm not a prolific baker, so maybe I'll bring donuts in from the Giant, or I'll bring in some fruit, some orange juice. Other people that are prolific bakers will bring in like these gigantic 9x13, and they'll bring like 5 or 6 pans of different cakes and pies. They'll bring in omelet casserole, egg casserole from time to time. Some people bring in a real breakfast, and there's a lot of people. After a while, you sort of get on a schedule, and you know who's going to bring what. And most of us print our schedule out, both so we know when we're on, but more importantly, to know when the person that you're really looking forward to is up. You say, oh, because you know that day, if you look like Thursday, you look, oh, I don't need to eat breakfast before I come in, because you're going to fill up on the whatever they bring.
I don't know. I like everything about Goody Day.
Goody Day, it's one of those days you wake up in the morning and you think, I don't even have to eat breakfast at home, because I know there's going to be good food in the kitchen.
Or you think, I get to eat breakfast today because I'm going to work and it's Goody Day. That's how I look at it.
My favorite thing about working here is
my absolute favorite thing, the teamwork.
Yeah. Oh, it's unbelievable.
The teamwork. I've never worked any place with teamwork like McNees.
In general, it's just how genuinely everybody is nice.
I think it's the people.
I like the people that I work with.
The people with whom I work, my colleagues.
I think it's mostly, I'd say, the people. Almost from the get-go, the thing that struck me about the firm was its human qualities. And I'd say the same today.
I love working here.
It's a good place to work. I think it's a nice atmosphere.
We all have fun. We make the 8 hours a day go so quick because we laugh.
Everybody treats everybody with respect. It doesn't matter where you fall on the ladder.
You come in and everybody's friendly.
The folks that I work with are my friends, and I like that opportunity. I like that experience. Having been somewhere else, I can say that it's not like that everywhere.